After you log into for the first time, you will be guided through the basic configuration. Here you can first set the SMTP settings and change the admin username. You can also change the SMTP settings at any time after the basic settings and do not have to be set in this step. Important, this is the login name for the super user. If you change the email or username, write it down. The username of the super user must always be set in email address format. It doesn't have to be a valid email address, as no emails are sent to this address. First, you must define the packages that you want to create. Packages are used in EasyUC to represent different roles. For example, the role of employee and board of directors. For example, the templates of the telephones that are to be used by normal employees would be stored in the employee role. For the group, templates could be created for the 78 and 48 SIGELF telephone. If the executive board was able to obtain 68 telephones, a template would be created for these telephones in the executive board package. If an IT employee now has to set up a telephone for a board of directors in the future, he will only be shown the telephone types that can be used. If he has to create telephones for normal employees, he will only be shown the telephone types that are intended for employees. In this example, a package is created for the employee role only. This type of setup is also done 99% of the time. Only use multiple packages when you really need the extra effort. Next, you need to define the locations that your Cisco environment uses. It is important that you only have to create a respective location in EasyUC for multiple locations if there are differences in the configuration of the phones per location. If telephones in Hamburg use the same settings as in Frankfurt and Munich, then, in theory, a single location would suffice. It is the case that templates that are used to create telephones, users or the like always belong to a location. In most cases, phones from different locations differ at least in terms of device pool, so you must create a separate location in EasyUC for each of these locations. When you create the location, first select what type the location is. This is important so that EasyUC can recognize which phone and which user belongs to the location. If a user has entered a number +4940123456 in the telephone number field and his telephone number is configured in the same format, the normal type is used. It therefore means that the telephone number from the telephone number field must match what is also configured on the telephone. If the telephone number in the telephone number field is +4940123456, but the number 23456 is used on the telephone, the type right digits must be used. In this example, you specify that the last 5 digits should be used. If you also want to put an indicator before the number, you can use the change prefix type and put an index such as 99 before the number 23456. Next, enter the name of the location and which packages go with the location. Next, specify which telephone numbers areas belong to the location. This is important so that EasyUC can create the number plan dynamically and especially so that a connection to the location can be recognized between a telephone or user. Now enter the information in which time zone the location is located and which voice box profile should be used. This, of course, only if you have connected your Unity system. The service profile settings are used so that EasyUC knows which profile should be used for a user who only has an IP phone or for someone who also has a Jabber phone. If there are any differences here, they can be specified here. If a user configures a Jabber that didn't have one before, EasyUC automatically changes the profile if another one is to be used. Calling privileges are now created. These are there so that IT employees who use EasyUC can adjust the user's authorization. So if you want IT employees to be able to set international, national and internal authorizations, create these entries. The name on the left is the one that the IT employee sees. Only the EasyUC admin sees the name of the CSS right next to it here. You can therefore choose the same names for calling privileges for each location, but use a different CSS for each location. This makes things easier for normal IT employees. Next, the calling privileges for the forwarding settings are defined. So now set the CSS here, which should be used for the individual options. This is only used by EasyUC if no CSS is set on a line in the case of a forwarding setting. For example, if an EasyUC user wants to set a redirection when busy and no CSS is set on the line for this option, EasyUC offers that calling privileges can be set from the location. If you use the queue option in the Hunt feature, you must also define which CSS should be used for the three options shown. Next, define which user should be used to create a template. EasyUC stores the permissions, which service profile is used, which language is used, and which CSS is set in the individual options in the template. So select a user here who is set up exactly the same as all future users that are created by EasyUC should be set up. If possible, avoid using users from the IT department, as they are usually configured differently than normal employees. Once you've found the user, click Create Template. Now enter a name for the template and choose which location the template should belong to. Now create the templates for the phones that you want to create with EasyUC. Here, too, it is important that you select telephones that are configured exactly the same as the telephones that are to be provisioned with EasyUC in the future. All phone settings are saved in the template. This template also contains information about which partition the line uses. Forwarding settings are also included. This means that if you create a template from a telephone that has set up redirection, the redirection is also included in the template. Phones created with this template therefore have the same redirection as saved in the template. Therefore, pay close attention to which phone you are creating a template from. If you use video devices or device profiles in the system, create templates in the same way. Do the same for CTI route points should you use them. EasyUC uses CTI route points for virtual phones. So if you want to set up phone number forwarding for a user who leaves the company, the best way to do this is to use this function. If you want to be able to set EasyUC so that a mobile phone rings in parallel with incoming calls, you can also create a template from a remote destination profile. If your users use the Jabber client but still want to be able to receive an incoming call in parallel, if the Jabber client is not logged in, then create a template of a mobile identity setting as well. If you also want to be able to configure ports on an analog gateway via EasyUC, create a template from these settings as well. Next, let's talk about call pickup groups. These groups always use a telephone number in queue. Therefore, enter here which number range you have defined. You also specify which location this number range should belong to. Here, you can choose between global and the created locations. If all call pickup groups use the same partition and number range, you can select the global location. This allows you to make this setting only once and not define an area for each location. The same principle applies to the presentation of the takeover group. If you have defined that the number range is in the global location, the template for the takeover group should also be in the global location. The same applies to the Hunt group feature. If all groups use the same partition, the template can be moved to the global location. This also makes it easier to set up. Finally, you will receive a summary of the settings that have been made. Press Start using EasyUC to finish the basic configuration. However, you can adjust and edit any category at any time.